All right, so we are now into September, and I have to say, I think September is going to be a pretty exciting month for gaming, mostly because while we will have some titles coming up here to play, I think we're going to have a lot of reveals and a lot of news coming out this month, certainly in the next 3 to 4 weeks, as we already have 2 events announced, one from THQ Nordic and the other from Sony, and we're anticipating the announcement of a 3rd event, that one being from Nintendo. But it looks like, yes, the rumor mill has been picking up more and more, and I kind of wanted to go back to one story in particular as we got maybe a little more information here on it, that having to do with the Nintendo Switch Online, and I want to talk a little more about Sony's event here as well. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you're subscribed down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with the uploads here on the channel. So we do know this past week we had information come out that Sony will be holding an event next week, and there have been rumblings around a Nintendo event, but I'm just going to say Nintendo Direct for now because, I mean, sure, it could be a Direct Mini or a partner showcase, but based on what appear to be a lot of sources pointing towards a Nintendo Switch Online update that I guess would be part of this. I don't know if Nintendo's just going to put it out on Twitter or something. I kind of assume they're going to have like a full Direct. Also in September, they generally have a Direct, right? So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards right now. But after Nate mentioned this on the podcast with MVG, they had a lengthy conversation around emulators that exist currently and are being used by Nintendo on the Switch. That speculation certainly made the rounds online, and people started to talk more and more about the idea of Game Boy and Game Boy Color games coming to the Switch via the Nintendo Switch Online service being added next to Nintendo and Super Nintendo. And after Nate put that out there, it appeared that a lot of websites all of a sudden started to come forward and talk about how they were able to corroborate that, or they had sources. I mean, some of this stuff was like an hour or two later. I feel like some of these places were just waiting for someone to mention this, and they were like, yep, all right, cool, let's put that out there now. For example, we do have Eurogamer. They corroborated it. We have Game Informer. They also corroborated, and then we also have Nintendo Life. So they pretty much all got behind what Nate was saying there with Game Boy and Game Boy Color. But Eurogamer went a step further here. And they said now Eurogamer has been able to separately corroborate these reports, and we have heard that other retro platforms are also on the cards. Other retro platforms, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you think, okay, maybe it could be Nintendo 64. That's what everyone's going to jump to, or Game Boy Advance. You know, like those are the two right now that people are really asking for. I think Game Boy and Game Boy Color could be good if Nintendo picks the right games, and I don't really have a lot of faith that they'll pick the right games. Like, I think people in their mind are believing they'll get some games like Wario Land or some of the Pokemon games, right? Like, that'd be cool. You drop like Pokemon Crystal or Yellow, or the Pokemon trading card game, Pokemon Pinball. Like, you start to go through this in your mind, like, wow, they have actually quite a few things they could pick from there, or all the different platforms. You can grab like the Mario DX. You could drop that on there, but most likely Nintendo will show up and say, hey, here's Tetris. Like that'll be a big revelation. You know, like Tetris is now on the Nintendo Switch Online. You know, it's great. But they say other retro platforms here. And 64 comes up, but like other retro platforms, I mean, would they do something crazy like get the Virtual Boy? I don't know. And also you got to think about how the Wii, that did have things other than Nintendo platforms. So they say other retro platforms, and you kind of think about that too, you know? I mean, there's a lot of stuff around Nintendo in the 16-bit or 8-bit era, sure, that they could maybe come to terms with the companies and put them on Nintendo Switch Online. That would be an interesting future, by the way, if we get to a point where Nintendo is able to separate that completely and pretty much build what they had on the Wii, but in subscription format. I mean, think about all of the different systems that they had on the Wii during that virtual console time, but in the form of an application that is just a subscription service through Nintendo that could have hundreds of games on it, and yeah, it would be more expensive than what it is now. However, I think if Nintendo was able to pull that off, they would be able to charge like $10 a month, as long as there's enough games and value there from the past. But I could also be reading a bit too much into this one because, I mean, sure, other retro platforms, they could just say, oh, we're talking about Nintendo, we assume that you're already putting other Nintendo retro platforms in there, but who knows? I guess we'll see here in a bit, because people are anticipating Nintendo's Direct possibly this week on like the 8th. That's what keeps coming up, and that seems to have to do with this here, which is Monolith Soft having some maintenance to their website around that time, September 8th, which of course a lot of people are expecting to have Xenoblade Chronicles 3 or something new in the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise unveiled here at this next Direct. So you take that, and then you combine it with the idea that Monolith Soft is having some serious maintenance done to their website, potentially to prepare for that reveal. You kind of get why people are thinking this week we're going to see a Direct happen. But I don't know if it's going to be this week coming up. We're already going to have a Sony big PlayStation showcase, and sure, they could do it. They could have like a Direct on Wednesday, even Tuesday technically, and then like 48 hours later or whatever, we have this PlayStation showcase, and it's just a ton of news coming out all over the place, because Sony's event's going to be 40 minutes long. You assume if it's a full Direct, it's going to be at least 30 minutes long, and there's going to be announcements all over the place. I feel like that's something you maybe try to spread out a bit, and we have the Direct not this week, the following week, but who knows? Maybe we're just in for a ridiculous week of gaming news. As for what else Nintendo would show at this Direct, well, I mean, you can go back and look at some of the rumors previously that we have not seen yet. Maybe like that new Donkey Kong game that keeps getting brought up, and Fire Emblem seems to be talked about quite a bit right now. So I'm thinking we're going to see something related to Fire Emblem here, whether it's that rumored remake of one of the previous ones, a brand new one. Hard to say. Oh, and speaking of PlayStation, that PlayStation Showcase is this Thursday coming up, September 9th, 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'm very excited for this. I think I'm actually going to stream this as well. I've been waiting for Sony to have some big PlayStation Showcase for a little while now, because they weren't at E3, and people have been wondering, okay, we now know, through mostly blog posts, by the way, like they haven't even had any kind of stream like this where they'd show up with all of their first-party titles in a little while now. So I'm excited, because from what I've been hearing, God of War is pretty much a lock for this, and it sounds like they're going to show the game itself. Like, I think there's going to be gameplay for the next God of War, and that's very exciting, because God of War on the PlayStation 4 looked phenomenal, and it runs really well on the PS5. So you then kind of take what they were able to do on the PS4 and push it up to the PS5, and I'm expecting an incredible looking game. I know it's going to be on the PS4 as well, but still, I think you're going to see Sony Santa Monica really take advantage of that PS5 hardware with that version. And other than that, you know what? There have been some rumors going around now about different multiplayer games. There was a rumor going around about a Resistance collection, and I just don't really see that, unfortunately. The big rumor I would like to see actually happen here isn't even Silent Hill. I would like to see Infamous come back, but I'm wondering if Silent Hill would be here. I know people are still on the fence about that even existing, but Nate does seem pretty stuck on that one. So, I mean, we're going to find out this week, right, if MVG or Nate are correct. The other thing for this PlayStation Showcase is they do mention in this blog post that it's for games releasing this holiday and beyond. So I wonder if they will have some sort of reveal for a game that's coming out here in the next couple of months, because if you really look at the schedule right now for Sony, their first party doesn't really have anything until Horizon Forbidden West at the end of February, and that is a very large gap for Sony first-party games, and maybe they do have something up their sleeve that they can drop in October or November. Maybe it's something multiplayer-centric, like that would be pretty cool to see, or maybe they have some reveals where they have some third-party deals, whether it's like Call of Duty or this Grand Theft Auto 5 Enhanced Edition that's going to the PlayStation 5. Oh, and with the THQ Nordic thing, it's been pretty quiet there too, except they appear to be teasing another SpongeBob game, and I guess Rehydrated did well enough for them. I mean, it did seem to cause a lot of interest online. People got pretty excited at the idea of them bringing back one of the older SpongeBob games to current platforms, and maybe they figure, hey, let's make a whole new SpongeBob SquarePants game. Why not? Like I said, that one at least sold within expectations. They could do it again here, and maybe that's part of their show that they're doing later on this month. Like I said, I'm still holding out for Red Faction. I think that's how you close it out, even if it's not coming out in the next year. Just something to show Red Faction fans that they are coming back with that franchise. But let me know what you guys think about all this. I mean, we got a couple events coming up here, 2 confirmed, 1 we're still waiting to have confirmed, but I gotta tell you, I'm getting pretty excited because it's looking like September, things are going to start picking up here when it comes to gaming news and reveals, and of course, that's when a lot of the hype comes back in, and it's just an overall fun time as we go along. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.